Oh, you remember that.
Okay, can everybody hear me? I'll try to talk into the mic here enough so everyone can hear. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. We appreciate everybody coming out and their interest in what we're doing for the betterment of the community. And I do believe that it's probably appropriate to stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance before we get started.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kathy.
Mr. Montoya doesn't know all of us. Should we all introduce ourselves?
Certainly, yes. Okay, do you want to start down there with Mr. Schmidt and what your position is on the board for introductions for Mr. Montoya so he knows what?
Sure. Jim Schmidt, I'm Vice Chair of the Chamber.
Ron Johnson, Treasurer of the Chamber, EDC member.
Keith Asher, Gary County Commissioner.
Ashley King, Chair of the Junction City Area Chamber of Commerce.
Kathy Tremont, Gary County Treasurer. Sorry about that, geez. I haven't had to say that for so long. Gary County Commissioner.
Terry Butler, Junction City Mayor, and I'll remind everybody, we'll have to share mics and make sure you speak in the mic, please. Oh, thank you.
Richard Panner, City Commissioner of Junction City.
Sam Yaskowitz, Vice Mayor.
Trish Giordano, Gary County Commissioner.
Kelly Nimzig, City Commissioner for Junction City.
And then, of course, you know, our city attorney and county councilor. So I just appreciate everybody coming tonight again. I think that where we wanted to start with this, you know, obviously several of us, our groups have been meeting. The city and county have talked about different areas of concern. And I think that, I must be talking too much, but I think that we have all come to the agreement that we all want the very best for Gary County, and that's where we're moving forward. I know that those that I've been working with, you know, just have a genuine concern, and again, I think we all want the best. I kind of put a little note, you know, where we were, where we are, and where we're going, and the community, and I know I've had a lot of comments and concerns and emails and texts about the viability of our boards, EDC, Chamber, MAC, and after visiting again with our boards and, you know, talking to others, I think we just came to the conclusion that there needs to be something done. The community has spoke pretty loudly, I think, to all of us, and something needs to be done. We've had we're just in the planning stages. I'll tell you that. There's nothing been, no concrete information has been necessarily given to anybody. So I want you to be patient with us, because this isn't necessarily a time for confrontations or anything else. This is a planning board that we all agree we need to get together in front of the public so that people can see and know what we're doing. So. And I hope that everybody's happy with that, because we wanted to involve everybody. We felt like it was important to do that. The protocol for this evening is if any members wanted the opportunity to speak, we're going to do that for 2 minutes. You know, taking consideration for the amount of time allotted tonight, and, you know, starting later, we wanted to have you be able to have an opportunity to speak. Keep it to 2 minutes. And we're not going to follow up with our dialogue from this group, because we'd just be here till midnight. So that being said, after we have your comments, we do have index cards there. You could either come up and get one yourself. There's pens and cards there. And please, write down your concerns, and we will take them and put them back, give them obviously to the respective boards. And we're really wanting everybody to voice your concerns. So if you don't want to do it publicly, then please do the cards, and we'll get them, and someone will respond back to you. So.
And may I clarify, you said members, but it's public comments, is that correct, Kathy?
Yes. Because those of us up here, we will be having our own discussion amongst ourselves
And we'd love suggestions too.
for 2 minutes.
Yeah, I meant on the cards.
Yes. Okay. So that being said, we're going to start the meeting with public comments. So if someone has something they'd like to share, please raise your hand and we will start that out that way. And if you want a card or whatever, or Teresa, if you don't mind, if you see anybody that would like a card, would anybody like a card or anything? Okay, well, we will move on then with, can everybody hear me okay? I'm not a loud talker anyway, unless I'm really mad, but we're going to go ahead and start out, and I'll turn it over to Ashley, the chamber chair, and also then Mr. Montoya. We will give both of you the floor and let you talk over here.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. I don't think Mr. Montoya got to introduce himself, but he is the legal counsel for the Junction City Area Chamber of Commerce that we have gone into contract with. And I just kind of wanted him to give a synopsis of kind of some findings that he has found as far as our master agreement, kind of just where we've started and where we hope to go, and just kind of his thoughts on that process. Mr. Montoya.
Thanks, Ashley. Can I have a card? No. So thanks for having me over here. I had a chance to kind of look through some of this information that has kind of been brought up in the public. As you all know, we've got different aspects of economic development, different players involved. I'd like to start off by saying, it's never anybody's fault when some of these things go bad. And when things go bad, it doesn't mean it's a bad situation. It just means that the structure that was there maybe wasn't adhered to, or maybe needed to be followed a little bit differently, or maybe we need to get a better process in place. A lot of the folks in here really didn't have anything to do with that initial process, and so we're trying to figure out, what the intentions were when all this started, what it should be in the future, and how everyone can work together as a community. As some of you may know, the city and the county allocate funds for economic development, and they're able to levy tax dollars for that. There's no requirement that the city or the county expend those funds on a specific entity or how that's going to be administered. That's actually their decision to do that. Back in 2017, the chamber entered into a contract agreement with an economic development director, and that was in place in 2017. Then in 2018, there was an amended master agreement that was developed between the city, the county, and the chamber. And in that master agreement, it provided for mechanisms for economic development, military affairs, membership to be handled under the umbrella of the Chamber of Commerce. And so the idea was that, I think the idea was at that time, was to try to bring those different aspects into one entity that could oversee that, monitor the funding, and make sure that there's certain obligations that are being dealt with, including making certain that the budget is approved by the city and the county, that the fiscal responsibility would lie with the chamber to make certain that those expenditures are done properly. So as a budget, you submit a budget, it gets approved by the city and the county. The city and the county expect you to follow that budget, unless you're a sheriff's department, but that's a whole different story. So as that was going on, we have an agreement that does that. And then within that agreement, it references certain responsibilities of different parties. One of those responsibilities was set out in an Exhibit A that dealt with the Economic Development Committee. And prior to the master agreement, there was a joint committee comprised of 11 individuals that made up this advisory board for the Economic Development Committee. After the agreement was entered into, the Exhibit A basically said that that committee continued. And it changed the makeup of that committee, and there was now 9 members, and there's some question about how that membership really is there, given the, how it was supposed to be composed of. But it's 9 members. They're advisory to the Economic Development Committee. That Exhibit A, however, placed responsibilities on the committee. And that committee was created by the city and the county. So the chamber has nothing to do with the establishment of the Economic Development Committee. That was something that was done by the county, and the city continues basically to be just a committee. It's not a separate legal entity. They don't have any more powers than what ultimately the city and the county desires to vest in them. But that being said, that Exhibit A does set forth certain obligations and responsibilities, and does provide the Economic Development Committee the ability to basically do economic development. And they're able to do that more or less without much input from the Chamber of Commerce. And so even though we have a master agreement that says that economic development, military affairs, membership's going to come under the umbrella of the chamber, that Exhibit A limits what I would consider to be the input that the chamber has with respect to economic development. And so it's kind of become an independent part of the chamber, if you will. Not by anybody's intentional design, I don't believe, but I think that having that exhibit to that master agreement changes what you intended to do, or what the entities intended to do, and that being that the chamber oversee those specific areas. And so we've kind of got ourselves in a situation where, and by we I mean all entities, because that master agreement is between the city, the county, and the chamber, and that's it. There is no agreement with the Economic Development Committee. These are the only 3 parties to that agreement. And it specifically states in that agreement there are no other rights conferred upon any other parties other than those 3 entities. So we start with that proposition. And then moving forward, and I think I've had discussions with Britton and with Betsy and some of the concerns that the city and the county has, and I think they're very legitimate concerns. I think from a funding standpoint, when the city and the county allocate funds, they require a budget be submitted by the chamber that represents budgeting for both EDC, military affairs, and that gets submitted to the county and the city, and they approve that budget. Once that's approved, there's an expectation of fiscal responsibility. The city and the county want to make certain that when that budget's approved, they want reports, they want to see that those funds are being utilized for the very purpose that they were budgeted. And so that's where I believe, and I'm an outsider from this community, so I'm just saying objectively looking at this, it seems that they're asking for fiscal responsibility and reporting, and even within that agreement that's already in place, which I keep going back to, and I've told the chamber this, and I'll tell you, I think the structure that you have is there. I think that the intent is there. I think that there's mechanisms within these documents that say, come to us and report on a certain basis what's going on. How are the funds being expended? What kind of projects do we have? Keep us in the loop. Let us have some input on things that are going on. And so you read requirements like, Economic Development Committee does this, this, and this, subject to the approval of the city and the county. So I think that subject to the approval of the city and the county got left behind a little bit more than what people were comfortable with. And I think it needs to get back to where all the entities are having that input, which was, I think, expected, so that if you are going to utilize the Chamber of Commerce, which makes sense, that's generally what the Chamber of Commerce is for, is to not only promote other businesses coming in, but also to promote the businesses that you have within your community. And so getting all that in one framework makes sense. I just think that, looking at some of the restrictions that exhibit places upon the chamber and the autonomy that it gets to the Economic Development Committee has maybe varied off the course from what I think the city and the county was wanting to have occur when they entered into the master agreement. So that's kind of an overview of where I think you are from the legal framework and the documents that you have. I don't think it's a throw it all in the trash can and have to start over type of situation, more so than just trying to refine and do what you intended to do. So I'm happy to answer any questions or get a card and write something out, whatever you want me to do.
One of my questions is, I know the city gave notice that they were wanting to remove themselves from the master agreement. Does that mean that the master agreement is no longer in position right now, or is
So,
that?
yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up. So, you know, and we talked about this a little bit, but the termination notice that we got basically says terminate, renegotiate, or get something restructured. And technically speaking, you know, the termination language within the master agreement says that if you provide notice by July 1st of the preceding year, it's going to terminate effective December of that, so 26. We have a letter from the city, and basically, you can take the position that that's terminated it. In the big scheme of things, in the overall picture, I mean, I think ultimately, and Britton can speak more to this than I can, if you don't reach an agreement that's acceptable to the city and the county, it's going to end on December 31st, 2026. And if it does do that, currently, the structure that you have with your ordinance and your resolution is that it goes back to the joint board and the Economic Development Committee. So if that master agreement gets terminated, effective December 31st of 26, you are back to that Economic Development Committee that the county and the city are responsible for, and the chamber has nothing to do with. Now, with that in mind, the agreement also provides that it cannot be modified unless it's approved by all parties. So what that tells me is that the three, the city, the county, and the chamber, have within your ability the right to modify that agreement. And if that means modifying Exhibit A, if that means restructuring reporting requirements, if that means, I mean, I know Betsy sent me a book on fiscal responsibility. If that means incorporating some fiscal responsibility and some reporting requirements, which I still think is reasonable, do it. You know, you modify the agreement, modify the master agreement or the exhibits or whatever you want to do. But I think you can certainly do that so that there isn't a lapse in that enforcement, that idea that it runs underneath the chamber. Now, if you decide that you don't want the chamber to do anything with Economic Development Committee, with military affairs, what's the chamber there for? That's really the question, because what's left for the chamber to be doing? And I think when you guys set up the master agreement, the idea was the chamber is the best place to handle this, with your input and control.
Do you have any conversation about term limits and where we stand with that?
Yeah, I haven't been asked to look at term limits on, because I'm not familiar with when everyone was appointed, obviously. I would say that your current documentation doesn't really give you the ability to just remove members if you want to. Now, if their term's expired, that's a different issue. But generally speaking, if you're going to move forward, you may want to consider how you want to be able to control the advisory committee. If someone is acting in a manner that you deem not in your best interest, you might want to have something built in to remove that person. And I'm not saying that's occurring now. I'm just saying if you're going to go in and modify agreements and change things, those are some structural issues I think you need to consider. That's probably not responsive to your question, but that's about as good as I can get.
Are there any other questions?
Well, the Chamber of Commerce operated for years without being affiliated with the public entities. And it operates that way in other communities all across America. So this is not necessarily something that has to happen. The Chamber could still stand alone and do what it did before. This organization of merging these together was an idea promoted mostly and energetically by a former resident here, John Montgomery. And I think that he advocated that might help people work together for the betterment of the community. and I think it was well-intentioned, but, you know, maybe it is time to look at a different direction. I mean, I've had my own ideas, I've kind of been on the perimeter here, but I think the chamber could go back and operate the way it was before, and it did so successfully.
Yeah, I wouldn't, that's probably better for the chamber to answer than me, because I wouldn't know what their membership and how they, Ashley probably speak to that better than I can.
Yeah, I mean, if we were going by today's members of the chamber would not be able to sustain themselves. There's just not enough memberships there. We would not survive as a standalone entity. And really, what is a chamber without the other entities all in it? It's my opinion, but.
I think other places make this work, and I think it's something that we should try to continue, because I am concerned about the chamber not being able to be sustained, and having all three of those entities under one, I think is a good concept. If we have measurables and safeguards in place, because right now I don't feel we have any say-so over. The city and the county elected officials have no say-so over what the EDC is doing with our economic development, and I do not feel that is the way it should be.
Commissioner Giordano, did you mean that in the sense to leave it under the umbrella of the, what structure? Take the chamber out from under and leave it a standalone unit, or still under the umbrella and leave the 3 or maybe 4 entities underneath?
I'd like to see the whole thing under one umbrella with more safeguards in place. And then another thing I feel is we have people that we assign as our representatives in the city and the county, and we should be having meetings with them yearly, so they are representing what the city and the county want as our representatives on those boards. And that has not been happening.
I'd like to just note, within the agenda for this meeting today, we do have various structures presented as options. I'm curious if we'd like to discuss some of the different Prosperity Alliance structures that are presented. That way we can maybe check off 1 or 2 that we definitely don't like, or target 1 or 2 that we would like to move forward with, or modify, since we have these visuals presented to us.
Before moving forward, is the chamber completed their communication? Do we need to discuss any feedback regarding finances or audits? Do we have anything to share regarding that at this time?
I don't feel that we do at this time.
Do you guys have you guys talked about what your wishes are, as far as, do you want to continue to work with the city and the county on this, as far as the chamber board?
Oh, I definitely think as a whole, if the chamber board wants to work together. I mean, I think there's some individuals that would like to see it split off, but the general consensus is to keep it together.
Is there a timeline for the information that Mayor Butler addressed?
It will be sooner rather than later. We have hired an outside firm to get some details in regards to, it's basically just a quick synopsis of our chamber finances. We were hopeful to have something by today, and we've gotten a little bit of correspondence that we'll talk with our legal counsel on. But there will be more information that the chamber will have to vote on to do some more investigating.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is a couple months, maybe a quarter at most.
I don't know that, because what she is suggesting being done could be a very lengthy process. So it could be 6 months. It could be 9 months. It just depends how far we need to go.
Understood. Thank you.
Again, and I wasn't sure if that was later in the agenda, if we were gonna talk about that, and I know that we weren't interested in any type of change in the structure at this time, because it is too complicated to get done in a short amount of time, and we certainly wanted the legal folks to be able to, because we've been flipping and doing this stuff with these structures, and again, trying to wrestle back and forth to see, you know, what best fits our community. And so saying that, I think that we were wanting to decide which direction we want to go, maybe appoint some interim, and then leave the rest to be resolved over time. And we're not talking years or anything, we just need to have time for our legal folks to put this information together. And, you know, again, I appreciate the city and county folks, we've been working together very well, and city manager back there, he has had his good input, you know, both good and bad, you know, but he's, you know, put us to the task of also designing something that's gonna work for our community, because like, at the end of the day, you know, that's what we want, so.
You say that gave you bad input?
No, I said back and forth, we've had back and forth.
Mr.
No,
Zimmerman will be submitting a card.
I think, I don't know.
So if I might add something here, I think Mr. Moriarty made the comment that the framework, the intent of the framework was good. We just have gotten off the rails. So, like he said, it doesn't necessarily mean we need to throw everything in the trash, but we probably need to refine everything. So keep that in mind when we look at some of these scenarios moving forward.
Are you gonna, yeah.
Are you ready, or?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Good evening, I'm Brenton Stites, City Attorney. I was asked to just put up some ideas that we've had regarding what I'm calling, under a working title, a Junction City Prosperity Alliance, patent pending. And so what we're looking at here as well is also the idea of JC Thrive. This is a working title, because one of the things I'm sensitive of being very involved in the Junction City Little Theater, is Little Theater and Opera House get very confused. So a lot of times when people say Chamber of Commerce, they get confused between the whole chamber overall as a body and the membership division. So that's why I like making a distinction there of doing business as the JCPA. And so some of these are just options to think about to start the conversation internally as well as externally. Right now, this is our current structure. So you have the city, and the county, and then the chamber came together with the interlocal, and then also the chamber is a part of that, which made the Junction City Area Chamber of Commerce, has a membership division, which the city and county are both members of, but then also through the mill levy, they fund both the EDC as well as the MAC, the Economic Development Commission, as well as the Military Affairs Commission. I put in the conversation, just as a thought, the Convention and Visitor Bureau, which is funded by the transient guest tax that's been in place by the county. Because all four of these entities, the membership, which I call the chamber from now on, EDC, MAC, and CDB, are all, their goal is to help the economic health and growth and stability of our community. So I think they should all at least be a part of the thought conversation as we're going forward. So if we're going to have a table of economic health, what do we look at? So I call it JCPA. So each one of these four legs is one of those. Doesn't mean they have to be on the same table, but those are the four legs we're looking at. One thought here is what I call a 2x2. And so you have an interlocal, you have a master agreement, which makes the JCPA between the city, the county, the chamber, which has the chamber, which is the MED, as well as the EDC in it. This is one idea put out by Mr. Zimmerman is you put military affairs under the city and keep CDB under the county. Because I think there's one thing here is if MAC goes with the city, county is probably going to want to hold on to the CDB, is my guess. These are just things that we're looking at here. And these are all just thoughts. One is kind of, if you redo the 2x2, is one that was brought to me today, is you have the city and the county with the JCPA, and they're over the EDC and the MAC. Since they are funded by the mill levy from both entities. Allow the chamber to go out on its own, and then CDB will still be on its own under the county.
So by operating independently, there would be no tax-based funding? It would just be by the revenue they generate, is that correct?
Of the chamber?
Correct.
Yes, under this idea, it'd just be the chamber on its own. The only tax money that would go towards it would be that's allocated as a membership fee or membership due from the city or county.
Understood. Thank you.
But as opposed to right now, there's a mill from the city, and I think half a mill from the county that goes towards EDC. 75% of the mill goes towards operations, 25% is reserved by the city for
projects, and then whatever the mill levies are that are for MAC.
The CVB though, Mike, has a state statute that involved with the CVB operation, am I right?
Yes, under the transient guest tax, yeah.
So that's the makeup of the CVB and structure, how is that, who controls that?
Currently, the county does because the county levied it.
But the state law says that too, correct?
Yeah, whoever levies it, because the city, if they wanted to, could levy a transient guest tax on top of the county one. I wouldn't advise that because how people look at those, but that might be a possibility. Or if the county got rid of theirs, the city could impose one.
With county questions, do we need Ms. Betsy up there, or no? I don't know.
But
She'll correct Britton if he's wrong.
Well, I mean, the CVB is gonna be run by the TGT, and that will be its only funding. But how it's structured is kind of up for the commissions to decide how to best serve the citizens.
So in Manhattan, they have TGT, the city of Manhattan collects their transient guest tax. Theirs is not called CVB, it's called something else, I can't remember what it is, but they're under their chamber and EDC and military affairs like we are here. But what they do is they go to the Manhattan and they ask for a budget, they have a budget. The city of Manhattan doesn't just give them everything that they get with their TGT. Their destination organization puts together a budget, and then the city, who is in charge of their TGT, allocates monies for their budget.
So, Mr. Panera,
Yes.
so my understanding is years ago, when the CVB was initiated, the city didn't want anything to do with it.
I have no,
And
I wasn't
so
here
the
when
county
that decision
did.
was made.
And so that's how the county has kept it. You can't have both by statute. You only have one or the other entity or municipality.
the big thing here, and is my thought of including in the conversation, is CVB, the monies from that go towards tourism, drawing people in. And even, because like, this is, take for example, even though they aren't directly based on each other, Milford Lake probably drives a little bit of our TGT. We have a few visitors there each year is what Rick Dykstra told us in the last 12 months. But you get that TGT, the transient guest tax, all across the county. That money is limited on what it can be spent for. But one of the nice things though is the city, when the law passed to allow Sunday sales at 8 a.m., I think that's what it is, the city commission passed that to allow that here, so that way we could take advantage of people that are out there fishing out there on the lake that wanted to partake. So that way, if they just want to run by Dillon's on their way out to the lake or whoever sells it, they can. So these things all kind of play off each other. So even if there's a state statute that regulates it, it still goes towards, because all four of these, chamber goes towards the businesses that are already here. EDC tries to bring in probably typically bigger businesses, but can bring in other businesses as well. Military affairs goes towards a relationship with Fort Riley and their relationship with us. And then the CVB is bringing people in here to visit here. All four of them factor into that conversation. Now, whatever the right structure is, that's up to these three bodies, not to me.
And I understood under the Kansas Home Rule that a city can, in fact, levy a TGT. It just can't be in the same area that already exists for a county.
Yeah,
Right.
I looked into it years ago. I don't know exactly offhand, but I know I've looked into it before.
You have to go through constitutional.
Can I ask you a question, Britton? I don't know if somebody had brought this up. If the military affairs is some of their funding is from like donations and fundraisers that they do. If they're under the city, are they going to be able to do that?
I believe so, and the reason I believe so is Parks and Rec have been able to do that before. We've been able to take in gifts like when we did Fifth Street Park and JC Play, or Play JC, that Ms. Kendall Schoenrock was involved in, as well as the animal shelter has taken in gifts once it's been a part of the city. I don't know if it had gifts before it was in the city, but it has since then, so. One of the popular ones here, and this is one I would suggest maybe looking at, is city, county, the 501c3 known as the Chamber of Commerce, make the JCPA, and then you put all four under the same umbrella. We work out how you can regulate things, because there's one question, which is structure. How's it set up? Who does everybody report to? Then the other thing is when you get down to it, you get to more operation. This is one way to look at it is you put all four legs under one table, so you have all of them there, and that way they can be responsive as is being sought for by members of both governing bodies.
This is the original design.
Probably, yeah.
Consolidated effort, trust me. It's a lot of meetings in putting that together, but this is the original design. The first one to fall out was the CBP.
Right.
And that was kind of how it all came out. So then you were a three-legged table, but yet still under the same roof. And then it's just kind of full circle.
Yep, I understand that.
Yeah, I've offered up a structure that you've not put up on the board, which is that put the MAC under the county and the EDC would be under the city. And in fact, we could change the whole structure. A lot of money's been spent on the EDC, and I think it should be considered that put the economic development in the lap of the city commission, give the city commissioners a little bit of a raise, and which would much less on the cost of the EDC that we've been spending. And so EDC, or the other option is to put a commission together, two county officials, two city officials, and maybe flip-flop Milford and Grandview Plaza as your EDC. Put it right in the hands of elected officials and put the MAC under the county.
I think that's nice in theory, but I don't know about y'all. I have a day job. I would not be able to do that. I love it in theory.
And we're also not the professionals on that, yes.
The business people in this community that serve on the EDC, how things work and how they operate. I'll express my ignorance on it. There's stuff I learned from every EDC meeting from the professionals, the business professionals within the community that is a different outlook and perspective than what we get from the normal politicians. So I think it's important to have a good mix of everybody. I don't like the idea of putting it all in government's hands.
Well, I think everybody at this table has their own gifts to bring to the table, and to all those people that are on the EDC now, or most of the people here would certainly qualify to be on there too.
I
And you're
wonder.
talking to have, also having an EDC director. Okay. I thought you were
No,
just saying
no,
that.
No, there would be a staff person.
Okay.
Yes, definitely, within the city.
I wonder, for the sake of future discussion, if there's other ideas that come out. These lovely graphics are so helpful in communication, so just to make sure that we're hearing what everybody's saying, because this is what we're wanting tonight. We're wanting feedback for the future decision-making. So that conversation that Mr. Panera, or Commissioner Panera just had, perhaps we can have a graphic for that, and other comments are definitely welcomed.
Okay, so I'm just flipping back to the 2x2 here. And, I can definitely make one and pass it around of EDC under the city, MAC and CVB under the county, and the chamber out on its own. There's some thoughts in when you make the structure, but you also have to look at staff. And then how staffing is done, how personnel issues are handled. So do you, as a city and county, have input in that? And who has the input? Is it from the governing body? Is it from staff? Is there authority within that? Or is it only in the chamber, but you make sure the chamber is more responsive? Is it staff that's hired by the chamber board? Or do you separate out maybe the president of operations from the other, the 3 or 4 divisions that are within the chamber? These are all just thoughts to have when you're looking at staff, because having just redrafted our entire personnel policy, these are questions that are coming to my mind as we're looking at this is, and then what are all 3 bodies kind of willing to do or stomach, so.
Well, with Commissioner Panera, what was the reasoning for the MAC to be under the county? What was your reasoning for doing that? Because, we had talked generally, if it was acceptable for the current director of MAC that's now a city employee, why not leave the structure as it is with the governing board and see if he'd be willing to go back as a entity? But I don't know what the reason would be to put the MAC under the county necessarily, because the MAC hasn't had any problems as far as we were all concerned. It's been very well run. And so why not leave it alone, just change where the staff is currently and put it maybe back to where it sat before, because there was no problems with it.
Ma'am, just to clarify, he's not a city employee, he's a city contractor.
Okay, city, thank you.
And it's only temporarily, because we still have the structure, and the MAC,
Right.
whoever takes over on an interim basis, the chamber, then someone will be hired, and the city's obligated both to the other entity as well as, that's why I think, one of the reasons why we have just at-will, month-to-month agreement for now, so we don't end up paying twice for the same coverage. But I talked to one county commissioner about this idea, and maybe actually two. I think that it's something that should be considered.
My concern is going to cost us, if we split up all those entities, it's going to cost more money. More money on staff, more money on equipment, more money on places for them to house. I think the reason why they were put together was to consolidate and save money. So I would like to keep on and look on it to get it to back to way it was supposed to be and run the correct way.
So we're back to the original problem that we had with that, where we had 4 colonels and we were very campy, if you will, and the whole reason for the executive director or the president of operations, as it was to be the clearinghouse / general of the organization in military terms. So the question is, can the 4 operate independently under the same roof and share deficiencies, or how essential is that? And the original design was an independent president of operations, not somebody stressed and taxed by doing 2 jobs. I mean, those are 2 full-time jobs. They're not anything one person should be doing. So I guess the question is, if we go with that design, could we fully fund and do it the way, not cut a corner and save a couple dollars and whatever, but bring in an executive that runs it as a well-oiled machine that it should be? Because there's so many, I think, just in copier leases, rent, and utilities, I think you could pay for that position, plain and simply. I mean, that was the whole reason, and we had a good location, and I get things changed. There's other locations available. But if we're gonna do that, to take advantage of the shared efficiencies of sharing a copier lease and sharing, buying bathrooms, whatever else, I think it's essential that we just get an independent executive to run that organization. Because let's face it, the reality is, when the chamber has something going, the military affairs can help. When military affairs has something going, everybody jumps in right now. I mean, it's kind of neat, because not everybody is doing something at the same time. And we've all witnessed that firsthand, but we do great things together. And it's not like you can bring in temporary staff just to set up for this event or that event. I'm for the original design, but an independent. I think that just simply makes sense.
I think we can find efficiencies to make that happen. The travel we've been doing with the EDC, I don't see a return on investment. I asked back in August the 14th of 2023 to get information on expenses, the outcomes, how it is serving us. I know we go on more travel shows than Manhattan by at least 3 times what they do.
And that's a separate conversation. I mean,
I'm just saying, there's money there. I think we can find that money.
And if we have 3 of them paying rents and 3 of us paying utilities and 3 of them, I mean, it really, not to mention the efficiency of shared health. So, yeah, I mean, that's, however we structure that division, I think that's a conversation for them. I think as a group, we just need to pick what kind of house we want to live in and kind of work from there. I think that's how I see it.
Sorry, I cut you off there.
Oh, no, I just think, there's a financial division right now too. And so I think you could, a financial division according to the.
Master agreement.
And one thing I thought of is if you had a standalone president of operations, they could also do your financial director and have that role. So you wouldn't be paying two different people.
Well, and if Ashley's right that, you know, without the structure you have now, the chamber doesn't exist. I mean, I guess you just ask yourself, when you're looking at these slides, where we've got the chamber over here, or wherever that may be, you need to take that leg out altogether. So we're down to a couple legs now. So you know, the reality of it is, if she's right, and the chamber doesn't exist, and I'm not saying Mr. Panera's idea shouldn't be considered, I'm not here to give you an opinion on those things, because it's your community, but, you know, I guess the reality of it, though, is that if the chamber really is gonna cease to exist, if he changes that, I mean, if that's okay, then that's okay, but I just think it's something to consider when you're making that decision.
Do you feel like you've covered everyone on the, have we come to, I apologize. Have we come-
I still got more stuff to talk about. This is one idea, because I know the EDC put out a suggestion earlier this month, basically to separate out individually, and so what you look at is basically siloing, is my term for it, all three, from the current chamber, what could be the JCPA, where the chamber would be on their own, EDC would be an interlocal agreement, MAC would be an interlocal agreement, and CDB would still be under the county. That's just one possibility, because I just want you all to be aware of all, and there are whatever permutations of you put this here, there, under there, but the extremes are all under one roof or all with separate roofs. Some funding thoughts that have been had is, like right now for EDC, the ad valorem taxes is what pays for EDC. Looked over at Shawnee County, Topeka, and they use a sales tax. And so, you look at the thing is do you lower the mill levy some and raise the sales tax, or do you keep the sales tax where it is and keep the mill levy where it currently is? These are just thoughts to have. I'm legal, I'm not finance, so Mr. Wilcox is on Teams, and he's the one that, and he and Ms. Robinson will be the ones to yell at me for it, but these are just thoughts that you have to think about. I want you to have information, and when you have a deck of cards, and you get to play the game. One of the things that's come in conversations that I've heard is this responsiveness. So right now, the master agreement, Exhibit 1, Exhibit 2, have quarterly updates. Are those sufficient? Do we maybe need more input or control by the municipalities? Are there setting of goals? And is this a responsibility of the JCACC, or is this responsibility of the governing bodies saying, this is what we want for the community? But regardless, it's a communication that needs to happen, because you're saying, you're not asking for guidance, but also has guidance been given? Because all this is regardless, I want it by January 1st, 2045, this, whatever we make tonight, or this year, or this next 12 months is still working when I retire in Capers. The other thing is do we have policies in place? And one thought I've had is maybe look, does the chamber, receiving tax money from the city and the county, maybe adopt fiscal policies from the city or county? They're already written up. Or do they adopt personnel policies to help address these issues, because they're already written up? This way, there's no, the question is, okay, do we read this here in the master agreement, but then the bylaws here, but instead we say, hey, we adopt this nice personnel policy that's drafted and updated. Those are just thoughts I've had.
Britt, you were talking about both financial policies
Yep.
and personnel policies, and that could be a back and forth with the city and county, since, that we do have those in place, and I don't think there is otherwise.
Yeah, both of these have both sets of policies, and so it'd be a thing of what you want to go with. I've got my bias, but you can probably guess that, but they both work is my understanding, so. Or other thoughts to consider.
So I have a couple of things. I don't know if you want to add anything more to all the conversation that's gone on, Betsy, at this time.
No, I think Mr. Stites did a great job.
Also, terms, I'm curious where we stand with the boards under these different entities, where we stand with term limits and our expiration and so on.
Good. My understanding is the overall chamber board has basically a 2-term limit, and each term is about 3 years. And then also one commissioner is put on there as a commissioner. When it comes to MAC, I think it's a 1 year from a commissioner, as well as a number of different societies and groups have it. And then EDC is 3-year terms, but both MAC and EDC, from what I've read, do not have term limits. And there was one appointment that was made back in '24. That was a 3.5-year term because Mr. Resler was appointed to fulfill the remainder of her term and then to extend it. And then also one term did expire in December 25 and has not been reappointed that I saw in the minutes.
So it sounds like we need to address that. The city, is it the city appointed you?
Yeah, I just looked at city ones. I didn't look at anybody else's.
All right. Is there any other comments about terms from county at this point tonight?
The county, both of their EDC appointees are expired.
So when we talk about having these stops in place, and we talk about the organization of one CEO or one officer, one managing general, as I like to call it, we could do a better job of keeping track of things.
Yep.
That have slipped past, I mean, that's, okay.
So currently, we have 3 on the board whose their terms are expired, and that needs to be addressed, is what I'm hearing.
That's what I recommend, just to make sure who you have in there is actually has a term as per the agreement.
And would you clarify how we address that?
You need to appoint somebody.
And when we go into our own meetings?
Yeah, like when the city commission had this meeting, I'm not going to advise the county commission. There's probably going to be a similar thing. You go into a meeting and you appoint somebody.
Okay, all right, thank you for that. And then also, I do know that within the chamber and the MAC, and right now there is difficulty in moving forward. So, for instance, the teachers' back to school breakfast, the MAC breakfast. I do know that things are kind of up in the air on how to address that and get things done. I don't know if we want to have a conversation about. We've got staff that are, again, do we want to have a conversation on that?
I mean, I just think we need to get this settled as fast as we can. I think everybody's going to have their own points of view of how they want to do things. And maybe that's the commission's separately looking at what they want to do and coming to some kind of conclusion. And so we can meet, so we can make some kind of resolution, because this can't go on forever. I agree. So whatever we need to do to get this going so that we can talk about the structures. And maybe that's a meeting after this for us in an executive session.
Commissioner Nimzuk, I think that I understood that, identifying those members that are expired December 25, that the county will reappoint, and not sure of the structure we'll take.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about.
We were going to probably either get some notice of interest or applications, because back when this all started, that's the process that was happening, and it doesn't exist anymore. So I think that that would be conversation with the county commissioners, how we want to go forward with appointing those 3 that are no longer on the board because of their expiration term. That sounds sufficient with you.
I definitely agree. I just think we need to work on the structure so that.
We do, but we still need to get members to fill those positions.
100%. ASAP.
I think, Terry, I think you were trying to talk about, because the MAC breakfast is supposed to be in 2 weeks, and the new teacher breakfast is in 2 weeks. The chamber's going to need some help because they don't have the staff there, and so I don't know if the city manager would approve of Rob helping with that. And then we could maybe, I've told them today at our MAC meeting I would be more than happy to help them. And even conversation about sponsorships. is a concern as well, but I want you to continue what you were saying.
Yeah, and we have had some sponsors that have backed out, and maybe after this discussion, seeing that we're addressing the issue and that we're wanting to move forward, that those sponsors would come back and possibly help out. But I do want the community to know we are working on this, and we do want to have a positive outcome with it.
So do we address that comment tonight about working together? Is that, do you have?
I don't know if we need I don't know if we need an official vote. I mean, I think we could all be in consensus that we want what's best, and if they need help, we'll help.
My only point of concern is making too many commitments while all of these things are in flight. That same concern goes towards appointing new persons while we find ourselves in an interim position. It sounds like, based on conversations today, we will not have identified or formed consensus on structure for a while. And so my curiosity is, how much are we willing to operate within this interim? How much are we willing to either allow expired participation or allow the fulfillment of those roles, knowing they could be changing? Do we need to determine that these are interim now, if we should fulfill these positions? I think my point of concern is we will be operating in an interim space for a while, and I worry, I think we've all seen things are temporary as long as they work. My fear is that if we commit to things to a temporary extent, will they too become permanent? I wish to air that caution now.
I think that's something that each of the commissions could address at their meetings while they have time to think about it. I think that might be better to see how we're gonna move forward with that in the discussion. And one other thing I do want to, when we talk about structure, and I think one of the things that was addressed in one of your meetings is having board training. I think that is extremely important. I think that a lot of the people on the chamber board did not realize that they were the governing board over all of those entities. And financial training, we ran into this whole situation with our hospital, and we almost lost our hospital. Our boards need to understand what a governing board is versus an advisory board, and how to read financials. I think that is very important, not only for this, but any boards that you're on, throughout the city and county.
But complacency and comfort, I think, is how we end up in the situation that we're in. And so after the CVB executed, then, okay, this is what we're left with, and we just, that's where the management, the active management that is independent, that isn't a part of any one of these organizations, it's their job to track that. It's their job to accompany each one to report to the county, to report to the city. So you really need that one gatekeeper. And I just can't impress that enough. Somebody to actually come up with board training, and who to bring in, and who to discuss. And each board still has their own finances and should have their own account, should have their own accounting, should have their own, and really, we just come up with
I do have a little concern with that. So we had Todd Wygand, who ran the show for a few years, and at that time, he's trying to tell the EDC director how to do their job, which I don't agree with. I think each one has their role, what they're supposed to do, and that's the way it should be. I have a concern with the way MAC is right now, that we need to get that position filled. And I like Mr. Zimmerman's offer of pulling that one under the city. CVB is already with the county because that's where their funding comes from anyway, and we can run with that. And I think the MAC and the chamber can still work together, whether they're under the same roof or not. I don't know if that really matters. I think the city has offered through our CFO to help with accounting procedures with all entities. So that would be an expense maybe the EDC and all those guys wouldn't have to pay for anymore. Work to that, and then we've already got the financial structure in place, and the oversight, and HR policies, and all those kinds of things too. We can develop training for new members to be given to everybody that they must do, must complete to be on the respective board.
I think we have those things here instead of just always throw it in the chamber's lap for years and, hopefully things work out. I would rather them work on their jobs and not have to do those things that we already have those things in place. I think we could do well. I think we need to get going with this pretty quick, and we could relook at it again another 6 months or 12 months or whatever and see how things are working, and see if we need to modify from there. But I think MAC is critical to get going right away and firm up that position. Now, we can't wait another month. Like you said, we got a military affairs breakfast in 2 weeks, you got new teachers in a month, so there's no time to goof around. So I personally, I'd like to see the city just go ahead and take that position over for now. And if we can all agree to that, let's say we do it for 12 months and see how it goes. And move on from there.
Well,
We're talking circles, we're not getting anything done tonight. We can help a little bit, not a lot.
But one of the points I want to make, if you look back historically, there have been many explosions in Junction City over the course of many years. A lot of it revolves around the strong executive taking control by the reticence of the people on the committees to take control of those folks. They're elected, they're selected to be in charge, and a lot of times they sit back because they have other things to do. So what really comes down to is leadership that is in appointed positions or elected positions, assuming the responsibility for accountability with the executives. I go back to Rod Barnes. I can go back to others. We've repeated this in other entities frequently, too frequently, and that hospital was a situation that was another example of a dire situation where we almost lost our hospital. But if you really think about it, don't just think about what I'm just saying right now. Just think about the things that have gone wrong, different hand grenades going off over the years. What's the core problem? And that is the accountable leadership for each governing body or entity. They don't take the time to do their job.
In the course of this conversation, just some things I want everybody to consider is just the concept of an economic development strategy in which the community is engaged in the direction that we want the community to go, just a random comment. I also am curious if there's any further feedback on the termination process, if all that, are we ready to move forward, or is there anything different with that, with MAC, if it's appropriate to even bring it up here. I didn't know if, I think Mr. Wilcox, I can't see, but is he online, and does he have any input regarding financial questions that have come up here? And then also Mr. Zimmerman, I didn't know if you wanted to come forward and speak in any capacity.
I can, but I'm not sure if I'm one of the ones exploding that Mr. Bernard is referring to. I'm not doing my job as city manager, so.
I'm not referencing you, sir. I'm referencing the historic things that have happened in this community.
Okay, because I've been here 18 months, and I don't think anything exploded under my watch.
Oh, okay. While Mr. Zimmerman's walking up here, Mr. Wilcox says he's got nothing to add at this time, correct?
Okay. He's on there. Yeah, Jim L's on there. If you have questions.
He can't unmute his mic.
Okay.
He's nothing to add.
Okay. Evening. Succinctly, I've got more out of the MAC in the last 2 months than I have out of them under the chamber in the last 18 months. Okay? That's my reasoning for wanting the MAC under the city. We deal mostly with Fort Riley, and everybody keeps talking about Fort Riley, but it's more than that. It's the Air Force, it's the National Guard, it's all the federal entities, the VA. It's anything that's to do with the federal government comes under military affairs. And so we're bringing all that in under the city to help the county and everybody else involved in that. So that's why I would like to see the MAC underneath the city in conjunction with the county. It's not just totally into the city. County would have a say in that as well, just like we talked about in the other meetings. Space-wise, I got a basement that's empty in the municipal hall. If people are looking for a place to put offices, and if you do the chamber or whatever, and you lose a spot, I got space in City Hall. I think you're heading in the right direction, but also keep in mind that I do have some input on some of this, is the way it could possibly work. And if you have questions, please ask. I do think that MAC should be under the city. I brought it up to the commission twice. It's tabled for the next time. It's going to come up again. It's really hard to keep Command Sergeant Major Wilson in limbo for a job when it keeps getting put off. We're going to lose him. If we don't make a decision, then we're back to square one.
So, let me ask the question then.
Sure.
You talking about an employee, or are you talking about the MAC board?
The employee, I want him to do the MAC for the employee for the city.
What happens to the MAC board?
That's where you decide. Personally, I think you should get rid of it, and it should just be under the city. You should abolish it, and the position should be under the city. The position should be under the city.
And Mr. Zimmerman, I think you had shared with me, you had taught me that you can have a employee with a advisory board under it. Did you share that with me, whereas?
We can still have the MAC advisory board, the professionals, under the city, and still provide guidance to that position, and to me, as a city manager, there's no reason you can't.
Under MAC or under, like, I
Under-
think you mentioned.
It'd be under the MAC.
Okay, okay.
Just like the CVB would still be under
Correct.
the county.
Right. I mean, you got plenty, you got, I don't know how many hundreds of years of experience of command sergeant majors and colonels sitting here that love to give guidance on this stuff, and they got great guidance.
Hundreds? Really? All three of you?
I think he just called you old.
I was just talking to John. But it really will work. I'm positive the MAC will work when it's under the city in conjunction with the county. It's not going to be totally independent. It'll work. So you have CVB under county, you would have the MAC under the city, and then you would have the other two under the chamber.
I agree. I think what we've seen in the last couple of months, like you said, is that the MAC has gone much farther under our supervision. I'm fine either way as far as dissolving or bringing in the board. I think we have not seen board advisory since this contracting has came in. I have not seen concerns.
We've locked the door and left them outside, so be fair. That's a very active board that participates very heavily.
Yeah.
So we have frozen them out. They don't have, it's an awkward position for
No
a board
fault
to
of
be
their
put
own.
on. Yes. So, that's you.
City manager, my question is.
Yes, sir.
What is you're talking about a person in a position. That person has been in that position. What has changed the last 2 months that wasn't in existence a year ago?
His leader.
One word, communication. Communication leadership.
Who would fund the MAC? Would the county still fund the MAC under the city?
Correct. It's two things. So the county and the city fund the MAC. You get rid of the MAC, that money just comes over to the city. And then we would manage it with the county for that position. Now, the MAC is still in place. They're still getting their money. We have a MAC in the city. We could probably do an agreement, go back and say, you ain't spending that money because you don't have anybody in that position. That will come back to pay the contractor. There's different things you can look at, different avenues on that.
You had mentioned you had ideas about different structures also. I don't know if you want to address the other ones, and then also I'd love some feedback from others also regarding Matt. So did you mention that you had other comments? No, you did not. Okay, sorry. All right.
It's okay.
Tammy, I hate to pull our finance director into this, but I just have a general opinion as to when, the chamber or the MAC is funded, then do you think that muddies the water too much, or just what would your feeling be about doing what the city manager suggested? Put the MAC under the city and then some funding as we've done in the past.
I mean, I think we have a lot of interlocal agreements with the city, and so we would have the ability to make that work. Legal would be ones that would need to be involved.
Thank you, helper.
Thanks. So I think legal would have to be a big part of that conversation to make sure that it was set up and structured the way that you're looking at. But from a financial standpoint, it's just a matter of us appropriating funds like we do with other outside agencies.
Because we've already received their budget requests, so I guess that we haven't done any action on that, so it'd just be another conversation for another meeting where we could discuss that. But I do like the city manager's idea as well, and I think that it has worked well, and, again, under Rob's leadership, I think that, I never heard any bad comments about the MAC, only that, what good things they do in our community and their working relationship with Fort Riley, and I know that's important to all these fellows that stays as it is, and I believe that it should too, so we need to work hard to make, at least if anything else, the MAC sustains its presence on that board, however it exists. And I believe that at one time the commissioners, well, I think we mentioned that we agreed that what they've done in the past and the county supporting it has worked. So any other action further would be for conversation for us at another meeting. That's just my take on it.
Right, the budget would look different than what we see right now, because if it's under the city, their budget wouldn't match up to any of the expenses that the chamber reflects on their current budget.
Because actually, we're in a position now with all of our budgets coming up, is how each one of those are gonna be funded, so it's a critical time, so.
Well, keep in mind that master agreement, if it's terminated, it ends December 31st, 26. So you've already budgeted for the entire year, so those funds and that agreement doesn't end until December 31st.
But this is for the 27 budget
Right,
that
right.
we're currently doing
The
and talking
financial
about.
obligation under that agreement continues.
Right.
So have we addressed the question, and Terry asked earlier about the term limits? Are we going to address that county at our meeting then, or, because we need the people in place in order to move forward with the structure?
Well, Sam brought up a good point about, you know, us being in transition on what we're doing. Just, you know, thinking, you know, off the cuff as far as I feel that we need to possibly maybe appoint county employees right now until we get things in place and then move forward, once we get our structure and how we're gonna go forward with that.
I would love the city to consider similar.
And we obviously haven't spoke, but I'm not sure Commissioner Asher's, but I think that would be a good idea to put something in place. And we've included our finance and counselor in on some of these conversations, so they're probably as knowledgeable as anybody. So to appoint somebody in the interim to get.
Would that be a conflict at all? Or would you constantly be looked to as a board member for legal advice? I mean, I don't want to put you guys in awkward positions.
Right, I think what I'm willing to say tonight is that we have 2 EDC members whose terms are expired, and we have 2 vacancies. And as of tonight, there's 2 vacancies, and I think that that's a conversation that the commission should have.
Perhaps I
Next meeting.
heard incorrectly. Was it implied that our legal counsel would be one of those fulfillments of those vacancies, or just that it is an employee?
That wasn't said.
So,
That was the county idea.
That was a discussion about their being.
right, but candidly, I'm going to request that the city has this same discussion, but as someone participating in this conversation, I didn't hear Trish imply that it would be the legal counsel who is appointed, so bringing up a point of special interest here.
I think, and Kathy was talking because they have been on, you know, in discussions of what has been going on, that those 2 would probably be the best ones, but I don't know if it would be a conflict or not.
Yeah, it's just merely been suggested, and obviously we had asked if the 2 would be willing, and we haven't had a response necessarily. So it's just been another, conversation that, hasn't been set in stone, so.
I just think each entity should do what they need to do independently and make their decisions about the appointments.
Does it need to be tonight, or should we have a special meeting tomorrow?
I don't think it needs to be
We have to do
tonight.
it separately anyway. The city
Yeah.
needs to make theirs, and the county makes theirs too.
Now the city has a special meeting when this is done tonight.
So,
Well, have we come up with an answer as to how we're moving forward, or how do we?
I just want to say a few things on MAC. One is, I think, akin to what the city and the county have for the EMS agreement, we could do an agreement such as that. If the city takes the MAC under, even though there's been a lot of discussion, I think thing that comes to my mind that is, maybe should be answered. If the three entities together, chamber, city, county, don't agree on moving the MAC under the city, one thing is since Mr. Wilson at least has the confidence of the people up here, I'm gonna ask Mr. Montoya and put him on the spot, my apologies. Never happened before, right? Is it, and maybe it'd be Ms. King, but is there the possibility of reinstatement?
Reinstatement of the agreement?
No, of Mr. Wilson. Is this the question that's been asked of me, and I'm not gonna answer for the chamber?
I just think that's up, you're gonna have to have the chamber have an interim CEO to make that decision if you're gonna do that.
Well, we have that.
Who's that? I missed it.
Hi.
Oh.
Our bylaws already provide for that.
Okay.
I also didn't know that.
Okay.
I'm with you.
Mr. Matalon, I didn't hear the last thing that you said.
The bylaws provide for that.
We were on time for the meeting.
I was like, 6:30.
Well, I guess my question is for city manager. So if you do the MAC under the city, CVB under the county, what happens to the chamber, the med, and the EDC? How do you anticipate restructuring that? And then do you have, as Mr. Johnson pointed out, there needs to be a CEO to oversee those remaining three.
In this communication, can we pull up the 2 and 2 if that's the one that we're talking about to help clarify any confusion? You tell me if that's the one that you're talking about.
The only thing I'm tracking is what we talked about earlier, the governing board, 2 and 2, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, that one.
Yep. Just like that, sir.
So it would appear as though the membership portion dissolves, just to verify.
The membership portion just falls under the chamber.
It is absorbed by the
Yeah.
chamber, thank
So
you.
the chamber would only exist as med membership. If we did this structure in the Economic Development Commission.
I just want to be med and EDC.
Yep.
So I guess my concern is, I truly think that we need a chamber of commerce, a strong chamber of commerce. So how that looks, then who's overseeing? I know you got JCPA, but is that JCPA a group?
JCPA is 2 county commissioners, 2 city commissioners, and if you want to add either Grandview or Milford into one of those to break a tie.
Why either? Why not both?
Then you have 6, then you'd have a tie.
I didn't think we could have 2 county commissioners.
Right.
They would be given notice.
Well, it'd have to be an open meeting, period.
I want to go back to, we already have a structure for the MAC. We have a person in place, and they can make the decisions they want to make. All this stuff about the MAC and all restructuring, we don't need to go through all these agreements. We already have it in place. Are you going to let us off the hook on the MAC contract?
I cannot answer that at this time, sir.
I think you got a structure in place. I don't know what.
How's the chamber funded?
Memberships.
That's it, just membership only. And that's probably not gonna enough to cover salaries.
If we went
day-to-day,
through
whatnot.
our budgets, we could fund someone to be over the chamber. We have a director of finance that is employed, that has a huge stipend that probably doesn't need to have.
And that's what I was talking about, if the city's oversight or county, whatever you wanna do. But if we use our CFO to run the money, also you got HR if you wanna set up videos for training and things and get your
You
people
can't,
squared
the
away.
chamber is a not-for-profit, so it cannot run under the county. And at the end of the day, I think we all agree we need a chamber, right?
community cannot not have a chamber.
But it probably needs funding also from the city and the county like the other entities do. to
Which it
exist.
does as memberships.
I don't think we can fund the 501c3 as,
No,
to
we
be able
cannot.
to run is what we
No.
were told.
No.
Can you come up with a new workaround?
Yes, and we have talked about that there could be a different level of a sponsor that could house, I mean, Britt has mentioned a couple times.
One of the challenges with the chamber is the banks have always been for $1 million of deposits. And so that's how the banks pay, which is separate from everybody else. Ours isn't by the number of cars sold, yours isn't by the number of bushels or dead cattle or, but there's exceptions, so I suppose that could be a different level of membership.
In a perfect world, I see the same structure that's currently happening, or you bringing the MAC back in. And I think that the city and the county work together for policies and procedures, for financial policies, what the city and the county are wanting reported. I think we're trying to reinvent a wheel that's really already there. It just hasn't functioned properly by nobody's fault. I mean, we are all to blame that we weren't doing our job as a board member, or the county or the city. I mean, we can blame whoever we want. But at the end of the day, we have to have a chamber, we have to have an economic development, we have to have a MAC, and we have to have memberships. Those are all very important, and I think that we are trying to put on silos to let them go on their own and them do their own. The structure works, we just need to figure it out, and I think that when we figure out our finances and we go through, our budget, we will find money to fund someone that would be in charge of the chamber. And you still have your entities. That's my 2 cents.
How quickly would the chamber be willing to vote to amend the obligation of the city and county to fund the MAC? To get you to, so we would not, if it's funded under the city, and the city takes that operation.
So going back, not keeping it as the.
No, they're just amending the current agreement
Uh-huh.
to say that we have no obligation regarding the MAC.
Why would they do that before they know what their future's gonna be?
That's my point.
I mean, I don't
Because
think.
the structure's there. She's saying the same thing I'm saying.
Yeah.
The structure's there. The
The
CEO,
structure's there, but the structure hasn't worked, and that's why we're in the position we're in.
I don't love the idea of, let's go just back to the same structure, because we all know what happens, right? People pay attention for a little bit, and then we're here again. That's just my 2 cents. I think it needs to be thoroughly looked at. I think the contracts need to be completely redone, and yeah, I think it needs to be from scratch.
I agree.
What
and
works?
I don't think reabsorbing military affairs is going to be beneficial.
The city reabsorbing it, or
The chamber taking it back in.
Should be on its own.
I agree.
When we were talking about the finance, and that might help,
Under the structure of the city and the
Yeah.
county.
when you were discussing finance and how it might determine how the structures, but we're talking months and months, and there's a need now. Does anybody have a comment on how to deal with those two conflicting issues? A delay in financial reports, but a need right now. Does anybody have a comment on that?
I think my suggestion regarding the MAC and then the monies on that would be to have at least the city work out an agreement with the chambers, and I'd include the county on it because we're all members of it, to say, hey, temporarily, as long as we are doing this contract position for the foreseeable future, is this how we can utilize the monies, or can we bill or invoice the chamber for it? That way everybody's on the same page, and then once we figure out the new structure or the existing structure is still in place, then we go back to whatever that is.
We said that half an hour ago.
Yeah. And one thing, part of this is also, just so everybody is more satisfied with it, one of the thoughts that's been had is establishing these policies and then adopting and adhering to them, is making sure, since there's one levy for EDC, one levy for MAC, DGG for CVB, and then the membership dues, whatever those are for the Med Chamber, and sorry if my throwing out the JCPA confused people, but I liked it. But we look at those is making sure that all those financials are separate in the best way possible. Because that's the thing that I like with Mr. Wilcox for, and before that, Ms. Miller, is dividing up, because I oversee legal and court, making sure those are both divided up. You know, it's all from the same pot, they're divided up, so that way we have it as clear as it can be with those GLs. Because I'm not a financial person. Attorneys and numbers don't always go well. But what you need to do is you need to have something there in line and lay it out. You need it black and white, because you need something in 5 years, 10 years, when none of us are here at the table, and we're still able to utilize that, no matter who's in what position.
Have we thought about talking to the employees and seeing what they feel? Because I think they've been very ignored over the last few months. And
I have talked in great length with the employees, and I would love for them to speak publicly, but I think they are worried of repercussions of that happening.
Is that in regard to the chamber employees, all of the employees?
So shall we open it to the floor and give an opportunity, but understand it, that they may not want to come forward? Do we want to, I'd like to open that in case staff would like to come forward.
Mr. Montoya, is there any legal guidance you can provide to perhaps encourage or support employees who fear repercussions by speaking their truths?
Well, I don't think that there's going to be any repercussions, because they're going to have a claim against you if there is. And so I think that they need to feel that they can speak freely. I don't think I'd be worried about it. It's easy for me to say I'm not an employee, but I know that with my experience of, my commission would never allow repercussions of any nature. I'm very particular about that.
No pressure.
So then I think we can go ahead and move on. And the next, for clarification, Mr. Stites, it seems like what I'm hearing you say is, do we want to go ahead and create a system where we can keep MAC going while we're trying to come up with a structure, and a system that is keeping MAC person in his current position and figuring out a financial method so that everything isn't on hold with teachers' breakfast. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, I think right now it'd be best, my recommendation to my commission is we look at forming kind of at least a temporary addendum drafted between the three attorneys to say this is how we're going to work through this as we are transitioning and whatever. It's kind of like a temporary parenting plan.
I would support that.
Do you need anything from us tonight to make that happen? How do we make that happen if that's what we...
I think we can work on it since the MAC's functions are already being done by Mr. Wilson as a contractor for the city.
I think sorry to interrupt, where it's getting a little confusion is that we have, MAC is really at the chamber, but we have a military liaison at the city who are both very respected on Fort Riley, and we're not sure which direction we need to go with planning events. There's no they work well together, but we had it today in a MAC meeting. It's very confusing who at Fort Riley, because they're looking at it like, what's happening here? The military affairs is part of the chamber, but then now the city has a liaison, and it's confusing. And we talk about economic development and the importance of that. Fort Riley is the blood of our community, and we have to take care of them to the fullest extent. And I feel like we're losing sponsorships by the minute for MAC breakfast that's in 2 weeks, that we're asking staff to try and throw on when we don't have a MAC director. So I think that's where the confusion comes, as whose role is what, and does the city want to take over the MAC breakfast in 2 weeks? Like, what does that look like? I think is the most important thing we need to ask and take away.
I guess my question is that Britton asked Mr. Montoya about reinstating Rob, and he kind of looked at you. Why don't we just...
It seems to me like it would, I haven't talked to the chamber board about this, so it's kind of difficult for me to sit here and say, this is what the chamber board would do. They haven't given me any authority.
Is it
But-
an option?
But it seems like since you've already funded that position as part of your budget for the balance of this year, it makes more sense for him to go back as the director, have everything put back the way it was under the chamber, and finish out the year for which you budgeted for.
I don't see why we don't do that. And then if we change the structure and we come up with something else, I mean, we're gonna be changing the structure for everybody. That's
Right.
just my.
And you don't have to do an amendment to the agreement to get from point A to B.
I
Should we involve Mr. Wilson in this conversation of whether he would be receptive
Let me
to
ask you this. Mr. Wilson was fired. Would any of you go back to a job you were fired from? I was fired at my last city because they said I made too much money. Do you think I'd ever go back to them? Come on, be serious here. You really expect Mr. Wilson to come back to this? There's already probably a legal obligation or legal battle going on here. You can't ask him to do that.
Thank
It's
you.
unfair to him, period.
That would actually solve the problem of the legal battle. That's
Rob, would you like to talk?
You also got areas that don't get along either, so.
You're welcome to speak if you would like, Mr. Wilson. Or not.
We're just in the talking circle.
Do you want to talk?
Have what is your suggestion if you've got better things to do?
Yeah, look, I'm here to serve this community, to build relationships with Fort Riley, and I work very well with Stephanie, okay? But it's already been told to her she's the POC. So when we go on post, yes, we go on post every day. And they look at us as equals, because we all have the same common goal, and that's to help our community with our veterans and build a stronger relationship with the installation. So I'm going to do what I have to do, and if you guys allow me to do it, great. But it's constantly, every day, we're talking about military affairs, military affairs, military affairs. I'm here to do the job, and I have been doing the job. I just want someone to make a decision so I know what my future looks like. That's all I need.
Appreciate that so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wilson.
So if you were reinstated, would you be okay with that?
So I will not go back to that, to the Chamber of Commerce with the current structure and where it's at.
Valid.
Okay, I guess I'm questioning that because that structure has been changed.
What I'm saying is if we still have people in that side of that building, I will not go back and fall under the same structure that it was. I'm willing to do the job, but I'm not going back in the building.
Can you do the job from the city with your board back in that position?
Ma'am, I could do the job wherever I need to do it. I can do it in the parking lot if you need me to. It's not a matter of doing the job, it's just allowing me to do it. So if a decision could be made.
And I think it'd be nice to have some time to, and I'm not talking about a long time, but to get with the chamber board to address.
Thank you very much.
This issue that we're discussing, so we can at least provide you with a reasonable response to what we're talking about and how any of that could change or what the chamber has in mind in doing.
I think the future of the MAC should be our first priority coming out of this meeting.
And I think we can address that. I mean, Ashley's really good about setting up a meeting immediately.
Well, and don't forget, one of the strongest strengths of this community, and I've been there when we didn't have a secretary, that's what pissed me off and got this whole thing started for consolidation when Micheline was sick. Stayed there answering the phone and watching the cluster that was the 4 separate camps. And so in that, this community comes together. If it's setting up tables, breaking down tables, sponsoring, whatever else, I have no doubt the new teacher's breakfast, there will be volunteers stuffing bags. There'll be people that are willing to donate the contents of those bags. There will be people that show up and sit at the tables with folks. Same with the military affairs breakfast. A call to action, this town is good at showing up. So I have no doubt that we can pull off these events, and we just need to discuss how, when, and what needs to be done. So that I have no fear of, to put people at ease. We just need to make those decisions really quick, put out the call for assistance, and this town will show up. So we can handle it.
And not just the assistants, but an understanding of leadership, because there's confusion with that. So, but you're right, we are an amazing community, and we do come together.
We have directors. We have directors of each of these. So just the director, so we would go to Kelly, what do you need? How can we help? What can we do? And I have no doubt that that's going to happen. That
Kelly, do you want to talk?
Yeah, a couple things. Not that anybody asked or you care, but I've been in charge of budgets over $2.5 million. I work for nonprofits. I've been in charge of 9 states, organizations, the fiduciary experience that goes on with the National Association. What I'm going to say, you probably haven't heard yet after looking at Britton's 2x2s here all day, is because whether the chamber is the JCPA or it's the Chamber of Commerce, by default, if you take the MAC and if you take the EDC out, that leaves me as Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber because of my current position, pending the legal status of her temporary being in charge. If the boards go away and the Chamber stands alone, I'm the director of the membership. And as you've heard, membership cannot afford to pay salaries, rent, or utilities. That's fact. Also, what you need to consider while you're moving forward, depending on which way you go with the MAC, that leaves someone possibly without a job, meaning Stephanie, if the city takes over the MAC by themselves, which then leaves Nikki and I in a position to run the chamber. You have 2 events coming up. MAC Breakfast is coming up in 2 weeks. We've lost sponsors. We keep losing sponsors. And as Ron said here a little bit earlier about the bank and the financial institutions, I've had conversations with financial institutions that are ready to pull out of the chamber because of the crap that's going on. If we lose 1 or 2 of the financial institutions in town, the chamber's done. Because we have 320-ish members. We bill, I don't want to guess how much the lawyers get paid, but I'm going to guess we only bill the year what he's probably going to make tonight. Okay? Might be a little sooner.
That's a hyperbole.
Is it? Okay. So, but the reality is, in my opinion, it's not the time to separate the community because of the people that we have here. I believe it's time to keep everybody together, and I'd even offer up the fact that it's even time to bring, I think, is Jordan still here? The fact that Jordan's getting ready to leave from Main Street, it might also be time to put another organization under the umbrella. Because the reality, to me, what I've seen in my career, my 30-year career of doing all this for nonprofits, for cities, for municipalities, for universities, is it depends on who the person is in a leadership position. All right? What we currently have, unfortunately, is a similar situation as K-State's had with Coach Tay, right? When you lose locker room, there's not much you can do. The fact that Rob just stood here and sugarcoated it, right? If people are in the building, we're not going to work well together, unfortunately. I can't help that. I didn't make those decisions. Stephanie and Nikki and I didn't make those decisions. I'm not going to sugarcoat it either. All right? I've worked in many universities and colleges where the athletic director happened to be a head coach, and if you have the conviction and you know what you're doing, it's possible. If you want someone to lead, you need to pick a proven leader.
So you're saying the structure itself would be fine with the correct leader in position?
I believe so. That's my opinion. You'd have to ask Stephanie and Nikki if they agree, but I understand if they don't want to speak either.
And are you saying an unaffiliated leader, like you'd be answering to somebody that is not a director of another?
Yeah.
A CEO, if you will.
Correct. Yeah.
There
But
again, the plan that we've never once, we designed, we've just never used. That's just.
Yeah, and again, the flip side is, if you choose to do nothing, then at some point, the membership director is the head of the chamber. Because Ashley's not going to be the interim for the next 2 or 3 or 4 years.
You're absolutely correct.
Right?
Just 2 weeks sucks.
And all the questions that you brought forth are valid, right? Probably not going to fund membership, just like it hasn't been funded before. I'll stand for any questions that you guys have.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'm curious if Nikki or Stephanie or Jordan want to comment on anything in regards, because we're looking at structure, we're looking at everything, and I'd love for everybody to have an opportunity to share. Will you come forward, please?
Well, good evening. I'm the Executive Director of Junction City Main Street. I am formerly an employee of the Junction City Area Chamber of Commerce. I am very lucky to have worked for both, and I highly see the benefit of both. We are a small business community, and any support that we are able to give our community is what we need to survive. And so the sinking of the chamber is just really not an option that I think is worth proceeding. I had my start there. I see the good that it does when it can be ran efficiently. I am one of probably the only community members that gets to travel outside of Junction City and work with other communities in this aspect, other Main Street programs who are a part of chambers, who are a part of economic development, who are a part of their community, and see how things are structured and work. And it opens your eyes to see that we're not alone in our problems, and that there are other solutions out there for us, and that I think that just leadership is a really big incentive of why we need to make some changes. I echo what Kelly said. I will be more than happy to step in and help with whatever chamber and or membership needs. I always try and push our downtown businesses to do joint ribbon cuttings, to become members. That has not faded since I left my position. So like I said, I will do whatever outside of Main Street, what it takes to keep the chamber going, because I see the value in it. And I thank you all for having this conversation and allowing us to share these thoughts. Thank you. Any questions before I walk away?
Can you refresh us? There was a brief conversation point that I feel we need to highlight a little further about why Main Street cannot operate within this umbrella.
We would like, the Junction City Area Chamber of Commerce is a 501c6. So they collect membership dues. They cannot apply for grants, most grants. There are some grants that are C6 eligible. We are a 501c3, meaning that we do not collect membership revenue, and we are able to go after large sums of grants, which is what we would like to remain doing as per my board of directors.
And I would like to go back to some history, because I was on the ground floor for Main Street, and I spent a very long conversation with Kathy LaPlante, who is out of Main Street America. And when we were trying to study and learn, we learned from Emporia Main Street. But the conversation was, if you can remain your own separate entity, you can be much more efficient and much more effective and get jobs done. And I think that if you take a look at what's happened downtown in the past 5 years, Kathy LaPlante has given some very, very good advice. And so with a different hat, with a hat as the president of the Main Street, and the history that we've learned in all these trainings, I guess it's okay. I support that. I got to confuse my roles sometimes to make sure I do all the right stuff. But there is long history to the decision, and which is why Main Street is so effective.
Thank you so much, both of you.
The
Would they be
C3
able
and
to,
the C6.
would you be able to share like a building? I mean, or is that,
Our current building is very, very snug. We do share an office with Louisville, Geary County. There is another building downtown that would possibly be available. I would have to speak with the owner to see if it's something that they'd be willing to do, if that were to come effect, and I would have to have approval from my board of directors as well.
I just didn't know with the two 501(c)(6) and 3 if that was.
Yeah, I mean, it would just be rent. I mean, we would be running as completely separate entities still. It would just be sharing a space to help offset costs for each entity, which is kind of similar to what the chamber has structured now. But the C3 and C6 allow us to operate without competitiveness, which is really something that when Main Street was started, that was really a focus. So it's allowed, us to continue that relationship for the last 5 years.
And I would like to add to that, when this whole thing first started, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, we learned along the way that this was what was told to us. Quite often, chambers and main streets do not get along, and the decision that we made to be the opposite, C6 versus C3, allowed us to have an incredible relationship between the chamber and Main Street. Incredible, and that is something that we're very proud of. And across the state, we are recognized for that, because it's been an effort. We've worked very, very hard on that.
Questions? Thank you.
So this has been a fun, almost 2 hours.
Well, that's what I was going to say. If, I think we've gathered information and it's been good conversations. I think we probably at the end of, unless anybody else would like to speak, I think that we need to go back and do some more homework and maybe come back together, maybe with our respective boards, and then go from there and get back together to find out what direction we want to go. But again, we did want to share the information with the public because you certainly are entitled to know. I'm sure you've heard a lot of gossip and goings on around the community, so we wanted to make sure that we had participation and everybody could hear what the conversations were. So not sure if we continue that to have a public meeting, but we will meet with our respective boards to hopefully come up with a good solution for everybody in the community. And if you want to obviously share information with the respective boards, however you want to do it, we are very receptive and want to hear input from the community.
And the city commission has a meeting directly after this, a special business meeting, when this is done, when it's adjourned.
I would just like to thank Britton for giving us some options tonight to look at, kind of stimulate the brain here.
And Britton and Betsy have been a great team together for the community. I'm very grateful for that.
Yep. Okay, if there's not any further discussion or comments, then I will adjourn the meeting.
So we're gonna have a selection.
And then on behalf of the city commission, I'm going to suggest we take a 10-minute break and return at 8:30 to begin.
Yes. Second. I don't know what I need to say, but I'm gonna second.
Yeah.
Okay, where are we?
Henry, that's our bad side.
It's 8:30. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We'll proceed with new business. A, discussion and possible action regarding matters discussed at County, City, Chamber of Commerce joint meeting. And at this time, I would like to volunteer to be the city appointee for the temporary board position as discussed for the EDC.
Is that a motion?
That was a volunteer
I don't-
conversation.
I don't think she wants to make the motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
We just have one person on there now, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Stites, is that okay?
Yeah, there's nothing, all it says is that the mayor may appoint with the consent of the, or approval of the commission, 2 people on top for a 3-year term, in addition to 1 commissioner who's appointed for a 1-year term.
But the point here is there's no open meetings issue, correct? Because it's only 2.
It's only 2, so it wouldn't trigger open meetings, but the second aspect of it is the EDC, even though it doesn't necessarily make binding decisions for the most part, except for certain things, still has open meetings. They pass out agendas with open records, so either way, it satisfies COMA.
Say that again?
Either way, there's not enough people that would, if this goes through, would trigger COMA. At the same time, COMA satisfied because it's an open meeting. Either way, it's clean.
Okay.
So is this a temporary thing or for how long? I mean, we've never had more than one commissioner on there before.
This is temporary until we take applications and we fulfill all the spots that need to be filled. As correct?
So like 60
So
days,
my motion is temporary.
30 to 60 days or something.
Could you define that so, I mean,
I don't know that we can, but temporary until we fill the position.
There is an application that we have been provided that we would like to,
So we'll start collecting the applications
I
immediately.
think what Mr. Landis is saying, you're just gonna fill a spot until then you would resign once we select someone, maybe 90 days from now?
I'm going to use the word just temporary and let us go ahead and move forward with the application process.
I think
Perhaps we should make the motion contingent on a certain form of action, be it resolution of structure or, I feel there should be an action that this is contingent on rather than a timeline.
We'll make the action of accepting applications and finding a suitable person. And Mayor Butler will stay on temporarily until we appoint someone.
Is it a,
Mr. Landis has a point. There should be a defined time because this.
I don't know that we can do that. I mean, we can say within 60 days or something maybe, but I don't,
Just say, you can just say less than 90 days.
less than 90 days.
We'll do that, then I'm fine.
So do you want to clarify the motion? And
I make a motion that Mayor Butler temporary fill the EDC position until we can take applications and find a suitable person for the position up to 90 days.
second?
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Is there a way that you'd want staff to try to seek somebody to fill that spot permanently? Because you can appoint up to a 3-year term, like Mr. Resler is in the last 6 months. So you're going to be back in this boat again in December to try to fill his term, whether or not you extend him on the EDC or find somebody new. Something we could look at is very similar to what we did when we filled a city commissioner spot, is take applications or put out the post.
And there's 2 open seats now? Or one?
There's one, there,
One more besides the one she just took?
No.
Just the one seat.
There's just the one seat that was filled just now,
And who was the vacancy?
Mr. Powers,
Who?
Mr. Mark Powers.
Okay. Well, I think the mayor said that we're gonna take applications, that you're gonna develop a process for that.
And what was did you mention what was the other conversation I didn't quite catch? Were you referring to the other individual who's going to be expiring pretty soon? Would you please help me
Yeah,
understand?
Mr. Steve Resler was appointed for a 3.5-year term in July of 2024, I believe. And that'll expire here at the end of December. And so you'll have the opportunity, you can, as a commission, extend that. You can seek new appointments to put somebody new there. That'll be your choices as a commission, what you do. If you're going to be looking for applicants, I'd look back to how we filled the Planning Commission and BZA, as well as when we put Ricardo Gutierrez, when he filled in the rest of the term, we took applications, staff evaluated and vetted, but then put it in front of the commission, and you choose, and you can accept one, you can reject them all and go back out for bid, essentially. It's your call on how you want to fill it. There's nothing prescribed in the agreement.
I think that you just take applications and the city commission can decide.
Is that something that we can advertise? Maybe online, they can get an application?
And for clarification, I think you said July 2024 for Mr. Rossler, but I think it's 3.5 years.
Yeah,
so
so-
was the 2024 incorrect by any chance, or did I do my
Or
math?
or maybe it's 23, whatever is,
Okay.
yeah, it terminates,
Terms, so you've done 26.
yeah, this December is my understanding. Because he filled the remainder of a term plus some,
Okay.
it's this December,
I was here when he was appointed, so that was after July of 24.
yeah,
January 24.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I
his
think it's
position
July.
expires December 31, 2026.
27.
20,
Yeah.
Well, 24, 25, 26, so it should be
Yeah.
26.
Okay.
Right?
okay,
Yeah.
all right, then,
But yeah, if you want, we can send out applications, have a link or something, or advertise it for people to apply if they want to. Would you want us to get it back here in July, maybe the second meeting, or do you want to look at August to consider that?
August.
Early. He goes through December.
Well, I mean, the temporary position that,
so I think applications should be opened right away. The process should be pursued right away. When the right person is determined, then the decision should be made right away. And hopefully it's before the 90 days is up, and we can just continue this wonderful moving process forward.
I think by the second meeting in July, we should be fine. 2 weeks is plenty of time.
I agree.
You either want to do it or you don't. You don't need 2 months to figure it out.
we'll get with the clerk as well as the PIO, and we'll put it out there and see who's interested. And then if you got anybody you think of the 5 of you, send them our way, and we'll do what we did before and put like a little spreadsheet together and resumes or applications or whatever, and get it to you.
I think it's just a resume.
Yeah.
I will be shocked if we do not receive an overwhelming amount of applications.
See?
Okay.
You didn't vote yet.
I thought we did.
We did.
We did.
Yeah.
5-8.
Yeah, thank you, okay. So again, discussion and possible action regarding matters discussed at the County City Chamber of Commerce joint meeting. That was the appointment conversation. But, do we want to have any further discussion on these structures? Perhaps,
I would like to request that we prioritize addressing MAC next.
do we want, do you want to, I don't want to throw that out, but that falls under, do we need to go into executive session, I guess is a question I want to.
It's not personnel, it's not legal. The point, I guess it is,
Can you comment on that, Mr. Steins?
I'll be honest, like, we could go back in executive session and discuss it. The other thing is you spent almost 2 hours discussing it in open meeting. And so a part of my thought is, are the five of you in a place where you can think it clearly, or do you want to mull it over? Because already Ms. Edwards, Mr. Montoya, and I are going to discuss about MAC and temporary, and then a lot of that hinges on what Chamber wants to do, what county wants to do. Because we have an idea what At least part of the city wants to.
There was a consensus that the three attorneys should meet so that we are legally free of
Yep.
being committed to both things at the same time. That's all I want to be committed to both. And I understand you guys are going to talk about that and come up with a possible amendment to the existing agreement to deal with that MAC issue, correct?
Yep, yeah, between the three of us, we're gonna communicate and see what path is the best one to take.
With
And
that, could you report back by the second meeting?
and I'll report by the first one to let you know where we're at.
That's
and I'll-
just next week.
I'll give you an update no matter what, but
The other thing, we don't get a chance to visit among ourselves, and this is, you know, we've had a group meeting with city, a joint meeting, but do we want to visit among ourselves? I think there's a legal, I think the rules for executive session, we could do that. I'm just asking that question. Do we want to do that now?
I'll make the motion that we have it typed or anything, but for an executive session for 15 minutes. It's 8:40 right now, so we come back.
wait.
You think 15 minutes is gonna do it?
Yeah.
How long do you want it for? An hour?
I mean, we just think around for 2 hours, so.
2 hours?
I would just recommend that you get everything because the AG is very particular about executive session motions.
Are
We can do it right here, right now.
But,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
We've
Let's
already
do
been
that.
speaking openly for 2 hours, so.
I'm fine with that, Jerry. Are you okay with that?
I am. I'm just curious what, you know, I think we need some action. I think we need some direction. I think we've had a wonderful opportunity to hear from the community, the staff, the chamber, county. I think we among ourselves, do we have thoughts about the different, when the MAC is an issue that needs to be addressed right away? So I welcome communication.
I would like to make a motion that we direct the city attorney in consultation with the city manager to enter into a discussion and potentially come up with an amendment to the existing contract so that we are not obligated to, as a city, for under two different options. Number one, the existing agreement and bringing someone on board as an employee. I would like this, I don't want us to be dual obligated to do to the chamber or that staff.
I'm missing something. What is the motion that they make up?
The attorney's already talked about meeting to come up with an amendment so that we would not have a dual obligation under our existing contract that we have with the chamber for the MAC position.
You're talking about the finances getting solved. Yes.
I don't want to be responsible under a contract and then make an additional employee.
My interpretation of this motion is that we would be forming a consensus that our legal counsel works with the additional legal counsel to understand how we could potentially, for lack of a better term, acquire custody of Mr. Wilson within the city without double paying.
Correct.
It's cut and dry. That is my interpretation of that motion.
I want the chamber contract.
Mr. Stites and or Mr. Zimmerman, do you want to come forward and make any comments or not?
I agree with Mr. Panera. We need it clean cut. It just has to be delineated so it's totally understood by all parties.
Second.
I assume this is temporary until we
It's been moved and
restructure?
seconded. Is there any further discussion?
I assume that this is temporary, that we're talking about, until we decide on restructuring, is that correct? Or are you saying we take him as an employee now, forever and ever, amen?
The motion is just to pursue the conversation. It's not a commitment, but the pursuit of the pursuit of the conversation, in my understanding, could open the door to lead us into legally pursuing that commitment, but it's not a guarantee.
And my take is, we want an agreement in place, so that way, because right now, the city levies money to pay for MAC. Also, right now, we're paying Mr. Wilson as the, I'm gonna call it the MAL, the Military Affairs Liaison. So we have two obligations, as we have the dual obligation or double dipping or whatever, and just getting into an agreement that's clean with county and chamber So that way, we're only paying once. And it'd be my recommendation, and my goal in that is to make it temporary. The only reason it'd be temporary is the structure or the going forward is there, as well as the contract nature. Is it going to stay city, become a W-2, or go back and be a W-2 with the chamber?
Do you want a friendly amendment that it would be last up to 6 months? Is that what you're
First
suggesting?
should be at least through December 31st. Because the other piece on this is not only the pay piece, it's the responsibility piece. Because as long as the MAC is in place, they are responsible for the MAC breakfast and stuff. So that conversation has to be part of that discussion.
So up to December 31st is what I'm,
Right now.
so does somebody want to clarify this motion? And I think it's been moved. Do we need clarification before we vote? Are we good to go? Are we ready to vote?
Can we add the deadline to the motion already?
I redact my second. Go ahead, amend it, and I'll.
I'm not sure I know what I'm saying.
I'll try again. My concern is that we not be obligated to have a city employee or an employee under a 1099 arrangement and under the chamber contract. So my motion is that we authorize the city attorney to meet with counsel for the other entities to come up with an amendment, hopefully, that we can resolve the issue with the understanding that would be, whatever is resolved would be effective through up to December 31st, 2026.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor respond by saying aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion carries.
I would request that Mr. Darrow pull the visuals back up for the structures we were offered in the previous meeting in anticipation of what we may discuss next.
I would also like Kelly to come back up and talk a little bit more about what he thought.
Make sure to press the button and get the green light.
Okay.
Please.
Sure. What's the question?
I mean, you had some ideas about structure and how that would look, and I just want to give you a little bit more time to talk about that, because I think that with the right person in charge, maybe it would change my mind to what I was thinking for structure, and maybe some of the others as well.
Sure. Well, like I said earlier, use Britain's, whether it's a Chamber of Commerce or, what was the other name?
And feel
Prosperity
free
Alliance.
to have the pull, whatever you address.
Again, you can rearrange it however you want. The reality is, I believe Commissioner Perner and Commissioner Landis even said it earlier in the previous meeting, the structure is there. I just think the wrong person was in the wrong spot to be the leader. And because of that, things got wanky. Because of that, we possibly could lose more staff members. And then also, the former military affairs person may not want to work in that building for the same thing that Mr. Zimmerman just said. Why would you want to go back to someone, if that someone is this person that you fired, why would you go back and work with that person? So unfortunately, you're in a catch-22 position. Going forward, though, if you had the right person in the right spot, depending on what was happening, then it's just like you guys. We have a board, you got a commission, directs Mr. Zimmerman, Mr. Zimmerman gets to direct all the rest of the employees at the city, right? So if you have the right board set up and you have the right person as the president of operations, then you can dictate to membership, economic development, and military affairs. And if you so choose to continue the conversation, you could bring in, like I was saying earlier, bring the CVB back. You can bring Main Street back, and they could still, everybody could operate. And those efficiencies that we're talking about trying to attain would also then be possible, whether it's rent, copiers, leases, all the things could all be in one place. And if we could work out of the same building, that would be awesome. In my mind, if you had the right person. If you always stand the chance of rehiring someone that was even not capable of doing what you wanted it to, right? So it could all implode again. But the reality is, I think between the teams that we have right now, I don't see why working with all of you or the county commissioners, I don't see why the rest of the team that's here wouldn't be able to pull that off. That's my.
So that's us keeping the same structure. You did mention, what was it? I'm sorry, Jerry. Main Street.
Oh, yeah.
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 And CVB as well. Is there a structure that we have on here that you're suggesting, or is it just the same structure with the changes, with a different person in charge?
Yeah, I would say the latter. The same structure that we had, right? You can leave it there, or if the county would entertain the CVB coming back underneath the umbrella of the chamber, just like Commissioner Thornburg said earlier, which was what we do in Manhattan, right? The same thing they do in Manhattan. You have the CVB, even though that is part of the umbrella of the chamber, right? I would be, because I've been here long enough in this community, and I see the benefits of being a C3 versus a C6 with Main Street as well, but the reality is we're all trying to do the same things, trying to make the place better with our businesses and bring people in. So I think it does lend itself well, if you have the right people to build the right team and cohesiveness, to be able to have those efficiencies come forth.
What about all being housed in the basement of the city building? That way you're all together. You got codes right there, you got a lot of things for businesses want to come in and get set up.
That's a great idea.
I mean, there goes your rent, right?
Do we have enough space for that?
Yeah, so I'll be honest. Yeah, I'll be honest.
The whole DTF area is empty.
You got IT, you got CFO help, you got a lot of things right
Yeah,
there.
and I've never been in the basement over there, so I couldn't answer.
It's got its own kitchen down there in that area, so it's.
Is Britton down there?
The contract with.
Will you come forward? Thank you.
Just a
Yeah,
thought.
no.
I think the EDC just needs to be separate, because there's just too many strong personalities there that aren't gonna get along. And just take the EDC, move them off the side, put the other entities together. Main Street might still need to have its own office elsewhere, but that, you guys can think about that. But
I was just gonna say that the chamber's lease is up December 31st.
so there you go.
And we know, not 100%, but the rent will increase with the new ownership.
I don't know if we just add CVB back in without any discussion. I don't know how y'all feel about that.
Yeah, when.
That's up to the county.
Do we have any more questions? I don't know how long you're going to stay up there for.
Yeah, I mean, Commissioner Landis said the same thing, right? Like, there is strong personalities there with the EDC. One of two things happen. Either you do separate EDC and then possibly MAC, or you literally charge the person that's in charge, like I said, in this example, the commissioners, to Kim, Mr. Zimmerman. If Mr. Zimmerman has said, hey, look, we're gonna hold the line on all four of these, right? CVB, membership, MAC, and EDC. And now we have the clear-cut expectations, so what we know what's gonna happen. Then it's up to me or the people that are the directors to see that that's happening. So you can put pressure on the four of us to get things done.
I think MAC and Chamber are just so closely tied together that they need to be together in a perfect world. I mean, we have lots of insight here with our city manager, being a military guy and being in Fort Riley, knowing how things work. And having him with Mr. Wilson as well. I mean, that's a good mix-up. So, like, EDC can go find their own place to work out of, and you guys take over the basement, and that's that, to me.
Do you guys have any other
I don't
questions?
love the idea of the EDC being on its own.
This is the floor plan for City Hall right now. The blue is what's available open space right now. There's no walls built in it or anything. So that's all open space. Those are offices. We're all 16 by 30. So it's a lot of space.
Thanks for sharing that.
I've been in worse.
And Mr. Johnson, you wanted to have this.
I realize we're talking about a lot of staffing issues as well with the different organizations, but there's no reason you can't have the EDC and somebody keep their door shut. Directors change, people change. I mean, that's constantly. We've had, 5 or 6 military affairs directors. I mean, we talk about one person, but we got to realize all this is, none of us are getting out of this alive. But there's no problem in the shared efficiencies as a taxpayer if they're under the same roof and somebody just keeps their door closed and focuses on EDC. I mean, that's plain and simply. They don't have to participate in everything else. And definitely not one of these people, if I learned anything by being an instigator in this design, none of those people, those colonels should be colonels, and we need a CEO of this organization if that's how we're setting it up. And everybody could still be accountable to their own boards and municipal governing bodies. But the efficiencies that we're looking for, I see no reason an EDC couldn't be there and completely do their own thing. But yeah, just.
But
for what it's worth.
with the president over top of all of them, is that what you're saying,
They,
Ron?
they wouldn't even have to answer to that if we wanted to. I'm just talking as a taxpayer for efficiency reasons. I mean, there's no reason they couldn't share the same
So this
office
is
space and
still
copy
the
release
same
and whatever.
structure.
Yeah.
When Tom was the director, when he was there, were these problems, did these problems exist?
I was the instigator of this whole thing, and Mr. Montgomery was never in any of those meetings over in the basement of.
I'm sorry.
Mhm.
John, he harped on that for years.
He harped about it. I put it into gear
I'll give
as
you
chamber
credit
chair.
for that.
Okay.
Here, but I'm not trying to take away
Mhm.
whatever you did, I don't know.
No.
'Cause I wasn't.
Once I did it, I walked away because I was too
I
involved.
understand that
Mhm.
too, but my question is, when Tom was in charge over there, was this kind of problem?
That was during my joyous vacation that I took a break
And what did he
from
say?
this whole.
Did he do a good job?
No, I have no idea. I mean, I actually
I
took a
didn't
step
hear
back
any-
and raised kids during that
I
period of
didn't hear
time,
any
so I was
problems.
not in the, yeah. I was not in the middle of that at that point.
So do we want to go through any, thank you very much.
My question, I have one question, Madam Mayor. If, just consideration for history purposes, it's my understanding that somewhere back there in the early 2000s, 2005, the city had the chamber underneath it. And then somewhere 6, 7, 8, somewhere else, that's when they removed it. Does anybody?
Underneath what?
The city was actually in charge of the chamber
Oh.
back then, and they came back out
We just rented
after
space
that.
in this exact
Is
building.
that what it was?
That's all it was.
Okay, I just want clarification, because I don't know.
That's not an uncommon experience. I was recently in Farmers Branch, Texas for work where I had the pleasure of meeting their mayor and their city manager, and that is the exact hierarchy that they follow. It does happen today.
Madam Mayor, you finished with me?
Sure. Are you finished
I
conversing?
don't, I'll try to answer anything you guys.
Is there anything else we
Yes.
have?
As Mr. Johnson knows, the CBB, and I don't know the exact history, but the whole vision was all of them would be together. And the CBB broke off because that was kind of the,
There again, we're talking strong personalities,
Right.
and we're talking ownership. Did the county have the CBB, or did the CBB have the county?
Right.
Nobody knew who, how, or what. CBB director at that point felt it was a money grab for their money, and it was their money. It was not the taxpayers' money. It wasn't, you got whoever they liked got the money, and if they liked the project, I mean, so once we got a different county commission that figured out, oh, we're in charge, they're not,
then it changed.
then it changed, but it was still a leadership issue with a couple of people, and that's why I keep talking. We have these interchangeable cogs, and these cogs will come and go. Some of them will wear out, some of them will burn out like a clutch, but I mean, that's the challenge. There again, the CVB and what the chamber does and what the EDC, the EDC really does have its own focus, but let's face it, how this whole thing started was everybody just ping-pong the phone calls around, you know, oh, that's not us, that's the EDC, click, and oh, that's not us, that's the chamber, click, and people just got the runaround. We ran a bunch of people off, but that was, again, just personalities. It wasn't a structure, it was personalities.
Well,
Yeah.
if you did implement it, you're to be complimented, because I know
Or
that's
shot.
not easy. But really, it is, on a vision, it looks great
Mhm.
on paper.
Yeah.
But it has to have accountability, the boards have to be accountable, for what their job to do. They need to pay attention and they need to focus and they need to make sure that they're giving the guidance that is their expertise.
Yes, and I don't know how things worked out under Tom, but I don't think we ever once, there again, that would be a leadership issue. And to ask any one person to do multiple jobs is just not fair, but we really do need to have.
You know, as Mr. Cook, he's done an excellent job since he's been with the chamber. He's really very organized and makes things happen, so we appreciate everything you do.
Thank you. I think we're good at this point. Do we have any other structures we want to discuss, any other questions, any?
I don't know, how are you all feeling about the current structure with a different
My
director
thought is let
or
this
president?
let this percolate in the community. That's why we did the hearing open and let's see what happens. Let's kind of like, let it play out a little bit. That's my thought.
And do we need anything on the agenda based on today for July 9th? Is there anything that needs to, do we know where we're going on July 9th? I think that's Tuesday.
Seven, but regardless
Excuse me,
of-
I'm so sorry, okay.
The first Tuesday, we can, my recommendation would be, is if you have any strong thoughts between now and then for the first meeting or the second meeting in the month, send those to Mr. Zimmerman and myself, and I'll keep an ear out for my counterparts from the chamber, from the county, and see what their feelings are. I've got a feeling the county's probably gonna discuss it on Monday. So part of it is going back to what I said at the beginning of the special meeting is let it kind of digest and see where you're at. Maybe take in things from community members as it percolates or whatever, and see what you want. Do you want just the same structure? Do you want a thing like Mr. Johnson's talked about and having a distinct, separate president? If you can actually make that work. Do you want a backup thing? Because it's kind of nice having the backup there in the bylaws of how things are just fulfilled if something happens. Or just what do you want? So I think right now, probably after 2.5 hours of this, it may be a point of take a break. Because sometimes in prepping for things, you just need to take a break, walk away, breathe, and come back to it.
Let me throw this out there, it's just an idea. The meeting is July 7th, but you got 4th of July weekend coming up for Freedom Fest. You guys want to delay the week to July 14th, give you guys time to think about it and percolate it. We can re-advertise on the 14th and then think about it and then come back again the following week on the 21st and tie up any loose ends on it. But that's just a thought, because you got Freedom Fest coming up in a long weekend, a lot of people are going to be gone.
I would love that.
Also have to move your budget meeting.
Does it affect?
We can think about, we can think about budget meeting in case.
Just do the budget meeting and that's
Yeah.
it.
We can do the budget.
Yeah, we can do the budget meeting and just let this set for a week.
Just because I'm not saying you will, but if you choose to exceed R&R, there are certain deadlines you have to make. I just don't want you to miss those with that. I don't anticipate it from my understanding, but.
If we try to do the meeting anyway, otherwise
Yeah.
we'll just do it all. That's how I feel. Yeah.
So at this time, are we where we can have a motion to adjourn? Or is there any?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor respond by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The meeting is adjourned. Motion carries.